and we are stuck between the daily 10 SMA. So until we get out of this range, I would expect price action to be choppy. If you're going to absolutely trade this, because maybe you lack a little bit of self-control to stop clicking the button, the only thing that I would recommend is you're trying to get longs as close to 340s as possible and selling in the middle of the range. You're trying to short as close to 400 to 420 and trying to sell back to the middle of the range. There will be a trade where you do lose, because if we do break out of this range, that's going to be the trade that you're going to really lose on. Now, until we get out of this range, it's going to be like this, right? And the way that the market has been kind of going lately, it's been showing us that we've had some very, very solid moves during power hour, and I don't trade power hour, so I'm not even going to be at the screens during power hour, but there's been some pretty explosive moves during power hour. And there's also been some explosive moves coming out of lunch, right? Like that hour-ish, we come out of lunch, it kind of starts to move, and in power hour, you see, the market kind of explode. Is it going to be, is it going to happen again today? Maybe, right? Maybe, we don't know. But again, what I do know is what's in front of me. And what's in front of me since, realistically about 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, when we started this bounce here, the market hasn't done anything. Market's not pushing highs. It's definitely not pushing lows. It is consolidating. I would lean a little bit more into the longs. I would lean into those buyers just a little bit more. But these are things as traders that we need to start picking up on. And what I mean by that is, if you show up to the market each and every single day, and let's say you're looking for one specific strategy or one specific setup, and you're just firing trades, not looking at the overall picture, not recognizing the patterns that the market has been doing, you can get yourself in a little bit of trouble. If the thought of, hey, I've noticed over the last week, or I've noticed over the past few days, that the market is doing something right off the open, and then it's doing a whole lot of nothing, right? And then a big move happens. So if you've kind of recognized that pattern, you can tell yourself at a time of day like that we're at right now, okay, if I didn't take the long off the open, great, I missed it. If I didn't short, okay, great, I missed it. Now I need to sit and do nothing until I get some type of confirmation bias of one of those moves, okay? And if we look at the reason as to why we got rejected, the green line on my screen, daily 5 SMA. Look at the opening pop that we had, right? That initial, bell spike that we had. It literally within 10 minutes just drove right into that supply, tried to reclaim it, and then fell back below. Now, up here could have been, and again, I want to point things out to you guys so maybe you can use this in the future. If you see us driving into a daily level of supply or a daily level of support, it reclaims it, it tries to pull back and hold, and there's no continuation. What you can do is use that high of day as your max pain, and tell yourself, if we close back below that supply that we were attempting to reclaim, you could basically say, okay, I need to stay short. Okay, I need to stay short. And that could have opened up the window for maybe a short opportunity to take a scalp. And notice how these last couple of swing highs that we've been in is literally at the lows of the candle that reclosed back below that daily 5 SMA. It's getting rejected, and we're here yet again. Do we push through now and start to actually go on a nice uptrend? Or do we spike, try to retest this area around 430s, and then fall down? Because that's what's been happening, right? So again, it'd be the same thing for if we lost 340s. If we lost 340s, if we lose 340s, then we could see, okay, maybe the idea here is to stay short-sided until we at least try to make a run at this low of day. But in my opinion, if we're trading above this 15-minute 20 SMA, the 5-minute 20 SMA, and we're above this daily 10 in this range, we've got to stay a little bit more long biased and lean into those longs if we do get them. until we lose this level of 340. Okay, until we lose that level of 340. So, you can start to plan your days around what the price action has kind of been showing you over the last few days, over the last week. And again, it will come with experience. But one of the first things that I was telling myself as soon as we had this pop, because I missed a lot of this pop, I did not catch this pop, at all, right? Like I did, like it just I think I got in on one account and I scraped $60. Like I didn't take anything, but I did take a little bit to the downside. And now, because price action was moving so fast, like I'm going to say I was lucky, right? I was lucky because if I was wrong, the price action was moving so fast, the range was so big, I probably would have taken a bigger stop loss than what I wanted to. But I was lucky because the momentum was there. And once we really started to close below this daily 5, I was able to catch it for a little bit, maybe $120, right? So it's like I'm not up that much on the day, but I'm okay with that. I'm fine. And again, we have to get to a spot where, if you guys were on the call last week, one of the big things that we were talking about is just being satisfied, right? Be satisfied with what the market's giving you. Just understand that every green day that you can book into these prop firms is another day closer, right? And for the many of you guys who are in the Pursuit to 3K challenge, yeah, maybe for some it started off a little rocky. Maybe for some, you started off good and today kind of, set you back a day or two. You have to remember that this is a long game. There's 30 days realistically. I try to look at a lot of this stuff I try to look at a lot of this stuff in batches of 30. And the reason why is because, if we can pass accounts in 30 days, if we can get paid out in 30 days, I think that's really, really good. So we don't really want to focus on what happened on this particular trade, what happened on this particular day, because we've got 29 other days to go, right? We've got 3 more weeks to go. We've got 2 more weeks to go. You're going to get to a spot where, those losses, those losing days will happen. And it's just, a matter of, we just got to really work through them one day at a time. Remember, you can pass an evaluation in one day. Great, great. But can we do that every single day, right? Like, can you go out there and make $2,000, $3,000 every single day? What are the odds of you doing that, right? So when you start to really break down the probabilities and you put it into like a realistic perspective, you're not really trying to go out there every single day and make $2,000 or $3,000. If you could do that every single day, every single quarter, every single year, then regardless of experience or educational experience or whatever, you can walk into any prop firm in America and tell them that you average $2,000 to $3,000 a day and you bring in $100,000, and they'll scale you up millions of dollars and you'll be a multi-millionaire trader, right? But again, we're not the best traders in the world. We can't do that every day. Okay, so take it day by day, take it step by step, trade by trade. Remember, this is a very long game here. So 430s is the area I'm looking at here as supply. That's the daily 5 SMA. Again, if someone was range trading, then we would have wanted to have been long, right? There was a 5-minute 20 SMA play off the floor here that happened about 20 minutes ago. You would be selling into this supply, right? We're not starting along here. We should have already been long. If you're sitting back and saying, well, shit, if I should have been long already, where's the next opportunity that I can get into this? Well, you would need to see us break and close over the daily 5, and then you would need to see us confirm a back test or consolidation and then take out the new high. Obviously, the high of day. Initial balance is another area that you would want to be targeting as well. So if we get rejected here and we start to fall back down, then again, you can look to the bottom of that range as your support. For me personally, I'm going to probably sit and do nothing. I want to see what we do during lunch, at least for 10 more minutes. I want to see this lunch hour candle open up. And then I'm going to kind of base, where I want to put that next trade at. Just a curious question. Is anyone long? Has anyone been long? Has anyone been sitting in a move? Maybe looking for this little sneaky double wick top here to get broken, maybe over 420s. I mean, again, if anyone is kind of firing off very quick scalps, just be very protectful here, guys. Be very mindful. Long off the 20 SMA, 20 points, and out for 5 micros. Good. Yeah, just make sure if we are taking these trades, if we can identify that we're inside of a range and we can identify that the trade that we're in is in that range, and we have to be a little bit more protective and just a little bit more accepting of what the market is giving us, then 100% you're taking profits into as we start to break this little, as we broke this little double top that we had here around 420s. You would want to be taking profits in the run up into supply. Remember, guys, technical analysis 101, okay? I don't care what strategy you trade. I don't care what indicators you use. Price action trades from supply to supply, demand to demand, okay? Now, does it always get to supply? No. Does it always get to that next demand? No. But the odds are is that when you reclaim supply, and let me give you an example. We reclaimed this 10 daily moving average, okay? And again, it doesn't have to be a 10. It could be the 20. It could be this. It could be that. It doesn't really matter. But on my chart, we reclaimed this daily 10, okay? Now we chopped around for an hour, but we were over the daily 10. Does that make sense? If we reclaim the daily 10, our next area of supply is what? The 5 SMA, the daily 5. Let's say, for example, you're not watching the daily 5 SMA. Okay, great. What would your next supply be? High of day, initial balance, right? So we want to be taking profits into supply. Okay, do we need it to touch? And here's one thing that's always, it just drives and grinds my gears about traders, especially that I see on social media, is they get these price targets and they start fixating themselves on these specific price targets in terms of number of points, in terms of previous structure where it has to touch, and they're waiting for it to exactly touch that mark. It's like, guys, don't be a lump on a log, right? Like don't be a rock, okay? It doesn't have to get there and touch exactly this high point. We want to be selling into it. If you have a right enough entry, you should already be making money, right? In that thought process. So if you were getting long off this drop, and we kind of held this down, this bottom here, this previous floor from pre-market, if you're long from anywhere, you want to be selling into supply. Okay, don't be a stiffler and have to wait for it to, oh, I like, you know what I get, like I see a lot of times, it missed my target by 10 points. Well, what was your target? Oh, it was 10 points higher. Well, how many points were you up? I was up 20 points, 30 points. And then I was 5 points away from my target. And you're telling me you didn't take 20 points? You're telling me you didn't scale off anything? You're telling me you didn't move a stop loss way into profit to up 10 points into profit? What are we doing here? Why are we being so hard-headed and stubborn? Again, why? Why? Because you're not satisfied. You think that you're the world's best trader. You think that because this person or that person on social media showed you a strategy and it worked on that one time that they showed you a strategy, that it's just going to work for you on every single trade. Don't be an idiot, right? Don't be stupid, okay? Don't be stupid. Always take profits into supply. If you're in a trade, always take profits into demand, okay? And the larger the time frame supply and demand, you want to respect those areas more. So you want to respect the daily levels above and above all, right? And then you would want to respect your 4-hour levels if you look at them, and then your 15 and so forth and so forth, right? But you know what a lot of people do is they will look at this price action right here, right now, and they'll start to tell themselves, oh, I'm getting long here. I got to get long here. We're finally starting to move to the upside. And then it does exactly what it's doing now. It starts to pull back 10 points, 15 points. Now you start to get panicked, and then you get out of the trade, and then maybe 30 minutes later we're trading above high of day, right? You're just getting in at a bad spot. If you think about the markets in terms of you want the best deal possible, right? You're a business person, you're a businessman, you're a businesswoman. You want the best price possible. So if you know that supply is up here in this range, do you think that this is the best price? Do you think this is the best spot for you to get long? Or should it have been way down here, right? And again, if you didn't want to trade the chop and trade the range, that's fine. You're going to let this deal go because you're going to wait for the next best deal. Does that make sense? So again, don't feel that you've missed out on the move. The damn move hasn't even done anything yet besides go from the bottom of the range to the top of the range. You know, I'm only speaking to people who are aggressively trading down here in the bottom of this range, right? You guys got a good deal if you were down here at the bottom of this range somewhere. You got a good deal. Now here's your exit deal, right? Like this is where you want to get out and make some cash. You don't want to just sit here and hold this. And again, you can look back at the market and we could be trading 100 points above high of day, but it's going to give you another entry. It's not like you had to have already been in this move. Again, we still have to close over our daily 5. We still have to retest this high of day, and then we still have to back test and hold this area. So there's going to be time that needs to lapse to see that actually play out before we get long again. And again, look at supply and demand, look at moving averages, look at whatever it is that you use on your charts, right? As buyers and sellers, right? So supply is just another fancy word for resistance. It's just another fancy word for sellers. You know, like people who trade like volume shelf profile, use nodes, icebergs, all that bullshit. All that is buyers and sellers sitting at specific prices, waiting to get in at specific prices, selling at specific prices, right? So like I'm saying, there's a million different ways to skin this cat. But all you're thinking about is, okay, if there is supply here because it's above us, that means that there's what? There's sellers in this area that are going to suppress this price down. Now, if there's more buyers than sellers, what's going to happen? Those buyers will clean up everyone who's selling something here and we will push higher. If there is more sellers than buyers, then they will chew through that supply, and when there's no one left to buy, the sellers start to take control and it starts to push back down. So that's how I always try to analyze my trades. When I take a trade off a specific setup, great. But I'm looking for, if I'm long, where are those next sellers going to be sitting at? Okay, great. I need to get out before I'm the last person, trying to buy something. If there's nothing left to buy, I'm going to be the one, like holding the bag, right? So I want to be selling into them. So I hope that kind of makes a little bit of sense. And again, apologize I came on a little bit late today. Absolute shit show over the weekend. On my desk, I've got my headphones with my microphone, but I've got one of the cords that kind of hangs down below my desk. Well, my dog, he will always try to go under the desk and lay by the feet. Well, I guess he tried to lay under the desk this weekend, knocking the microphone and the headphones on the ground, and they were chewed up. I mean, absolutely destroyed. Big dog too, 80-pound dog, absolutely chewed up. So I had to put an order into Staples this morning for a delivery for them to come bring me a new set here. But we're good to go now. Getting rejected right here at this daily 5. Again, I like to teach setups, as they're happening so you guys can maybe identify different ideas for the future. But what am I always looking for too at macro levels of supply or demand? Hammer candle, inverse hammer candle, doji. Look at the previous 5-minute candle. Doji at a daily level of supply. What could you tell yourself? Stop loss above that high, entry if we confirm the lows, get in, take it for a scalp, and get out, right? I'm still looking at IB, of course, yeah. I will not be jumping in on the IB high first entry. I would want to see a new high get put in, and then I would realistically like to see us pull back into this zone that we're trading in now, and then confirm the new high. Again, it's always a waiting game. Um, as you guys progress in your trading journey, you want to give yourself as many excuses not to take a trade, then look for opportunities to take a trade, right? Because the more you the more you look for opportunities to take a trade, you're going to be a little early, you're going to hesitate, you're going to be a little late, you're going to jump into the move, you're going to chase. You're not going to realize that the trade you're getting into had 50 points of downside risk, and it pulls back 20 points and you weren't prepared for that, and now you start to get nervous. I'm always looking for reasons not to take a trade. So yeah, I do like the IB high here, but I want to see this IB high get busted. I want to see us break through, and I want to see us close over this daily 5. And when that happens, great. That's step 1. What do I want to see from there is, well, I want to see some consolidation. I want to see a flag pattern. I want to see a pullback, a break and retest. I want to see something else, right? So I'm just making more and more excuses to not take that trade over IB high until finally the market proves to me that, hey, it did this, that, and that. Great. Like, I don't have any more excuses as to why I shouldn't have taken the trade. Because even if the trade was to lose after that, at least I gave myself enough excuses for the trade to show me that, hey, it did everything that it was supposed to do and it still lost. Great. There was nothing else that I could have looked for. There was nothing else that I could have done, right? Versus if, let's say, for example, I get long through IB and then it goes up 5 points and pulls back 30. And then I have to get out just due to, sheer, trying to control the risk. And then I'm looking 15 minutes later and it confirms and it goes for another 50 points, right? Like, I didn't give myself enough confluence. I didn't give myself enough, waiting for this to actually set up. I just got antsy because I wanted to get into the trade. Again, sometimes, we could confirm this and it could just shoot up 40, 50 points. And yes, you would have made money, but okay. It's telling me that that's the last time I'm going to ever get a setup? No. See where VWAP's at. I don't have it on the chart. So we still in bullish context. We look pretty good for some type of continuation. Assuming that we kind of hold, right? Like we do have stack support. We do have stack support here. You know, even though we're at this area of resistance, we've got stack support at 390, we have stack support at 340, and then we have the VWAP down here at 320. So all of these areas here, you know, I would be safe to say that if you're trading like above this zone, hey, price action still pretty bullish. For trading below this zone, hey, well, price action is going to get pinned. So it like if I draw this type of scenario, this is not the most ideal spot to trade either long or short, but we are leaning a little bit more towards the long side of things just because we're over you know, we're over a lot of demand. So we've just got to really work this area out right here to the long side, and I think we might get a nice move out of that, you know. But again, like the hardest thing to do is to sit and wait for this to actually happen here, right? Again, unless you're like a really good scalper where you can like get in and out very quickly in this consolidation. I mean, some people can do it, some can't, but if you know you're not that type of trader, just don't try to force yourself to be that type of trader. Now, if you are an aggressive scalper, you can see here that we did break and we put in a high over this daily 5 SMA. If you choose to scalp, you can get in 21,445. 21,445 can be a long, but your stop loss has to be around 25s. So you're going to give up about 20 points on this move. You want to use this candle's low probably as a stop. Any closure below that candle's low, you probably just want to get out of that trade to protect yourself because, you know, your supports are so far down. We're not going to give ourselves a fucking 100-point stop loss, you know? So we have to try to manage that risk as best as possible. But since we've broken the daily 5, we do have high of day that kind of sits at 460s. You know, from 445 to 460s is 15 points. I mean, if we're talking about taking 10, 15 points on a scalp, you know, could we get that double top test here? You know, that isn't a spot I might be interested in here over 445. And not trying to give it too much space, but just see if I can get a quick little pop off of it. Like, yeah, right now I'm looking. I mean I normally always market order in. I'm a market guy, so like I'm market 80% of the time anyways. So I will manage my trades market in, market out, but I am looking for quicker scalps today, yes. You know, I mean, again, the only advantage to having like a buy stop limit order out there right now is that, you know, hey, if it does explode through that price, at least you're going to get filled at a much better price than me. But I don't really see a benefit to someone being able to have a limit order in or a market order in. I mean, it's all the same thing. If the trade, to me, the trade's going to work, it's going to work. I mean, I haven't seen enough back tested data on my end to say, hey, you know, every time I market in, market out, it just doesn't work out for me. Versus if I have a limit, oh, I have so much better results. It's like, you know, sometimes I've been saved by not having a limit order because it wicks 1 point, and if I had a limit, I would have been in the trade, and the next thing you know, pull down 20 points. Versus for me, I'm using my eyes to tell my finger what to do, and I'm a visual person. So, like even right now, I'm saying there's a potential scalp here over 444. I want to visually see this fucking green candle explode through 444, right? Explode through 445. I'm not like sitting here at the edge of my seat. Okay, we touched 445 exactly. I need to get in. I want to see this candle visually show me. So like sometimes you guys might see me do some crap like this where like I'll really fucking zoom in on it, right? Because I want to see this green candle. I want to see it blow through that, right? I need momentum. Again, as scalpers, we need momentum. The choppiness action, the slow action is no good for us. But also keep in mind, you know, super fast price action like that we had this morning is not going to be good for you as a scalper either, especially if you're trying to. So it's like we're trying to find that median. Like we want that happy median. Like this morning, I kind of try to say like this price action is even a little too fast for me to scalp, because if I'm wrong, I'm going to be down 30-40 points in a blink of an eye. But I don't want the price action like a turtle. You know, like it's got to be comfortable to me to where I feel like I can work it. But I'll be honest. Yeah, if I see this breakthrough 445s, I'm going to take a stab at a scalp. And if I get into this trade, I mean, I could walk you guys through it. Like I could explain to you what I'm thinking. You know, will I be taking a lot of size on it? No, not really. But, you know, just looking for a little quick move. So we'll see how it wants to play out if we ever get there. Again, it's because every trader is different. You know, like I wish that I could say it was cookie cutter. Like, hey guys, you know, it's like this for me. It's like this for all. But it's not, right? We're all different. So we all have a little bit of a different style. We all have a little bit of a different, you know, execution. I mean, we're all looking at the same charts, that's for sure. We could all make a analysis for the same type of trade, but again, the way you execute and handle some things could be a little bit different than me. And again, there's people out there that, you know, sometimes they give themselves a lot bigger risk than I do, and they're comfortable with it. Me, I'm not that comfortable when it's dancing. You know, it's like I like my move happen fast, or I'll take the loss. And it could be a downside to me at times, because there is times where I get in and I'm watching the candle for 2 or 3 minutes and it's not working, and I'll get out. And a minute and a half later, if I would have stayed in, it would have worked, right? And I've heard it all before. Well, why not just stay in? It was still this, because I didn't like it. I didn't like it. Like that's the thing. Like I have to be comfortable in my trade, you know, regardless. Yeah, maybe technically I should have still been in the trade, but you know what? In the back of my mind, I know that support is not all the way down here until 390. So I'm not going to be comfortable in this trade down 40, 50 points. You know, like that's not comfortable for me. So like, okay, I'll take a paper cut loss. It didn't work in the time and manner and fashion that I wanted it to. That's fine. You know, I'm not going to sit and cry about it. You know, once we start to really understand that we're going to get hundreds of trades that set up a week, you know, a week, hundreds of trades, different time frames, different levels. We'll always be able to find something. You know, we could always make a case for something. It's basically what you're doing is you're trying to build a case that makes sense, right, to the jury. If you were to be put on the stand and asked why you took that trade and how are you going to justify the loss and how are you going to justify take profit, can you explain it? You know, can you explain it? If you can't, well, sorry, you know. Really want to see this get taken out here. And again, I don't like, even when I have ideas, I don't know that this is going to work, you know. I don't know that it's going to work. And I feel like sometimes that's what gets traders is they want to know the outcome of, hey, if I do take this trade, is it going to work? I think that's what screws people up for so many years in their journey, is that you're constantly looking for, this has to work because of XYZ, right? So you're looking for that validation. And, you know, the faster you realize that you're never going to get validated, the faster you will be okay with the outcomes that happen. You know, there's no guarantees here. It could be the best setup in the world. It doesn't have to work. And I think that's what people have a hard time accepting. And that's what keeps them stagnant for so long versus the traders that do start to eventually see some strides, and they start to do things you know, a lot more consistently, and then they start to have some success. It's like you've accepted the fact that, you know, it doesn't have to work, right? It doesn't matter what the level is, it doesn't matter what the setup is or strategy is. It doesn't have to work, and you just have to be okay with the outcome. Like, again, I know you guys have heard it before. There's a lot of good books that talk about it. There's a lot of good you know, like teachers or whatever you want to call them, authors or whatever, that have stated, you know, you are not in control of the outcome. So once you get okay with not being in control of the projected outcome, regardless of what you're looking at, you will start to play those variances in different trades, and you will be accepting of the outcome that does happen, good or bad. The main thing that we can control is, okay, what's the idea? That's what we can control. Where do we want to put our risk at? Where do we want to put our stops at? Where are we thinking about taking profits? And that's it. Once you click the button, it's over. Like, your job is done. Like, my job right now, me working, is not when I'm in this trade. Me working is trying to figure out here, like, what makes sense logically to me, right? What makes sense? You know, we're over VWAP over 20, great. We're over the daily 10, great. If I do take out this little swing high that busted through the 5 SMA, okay, I can make a case in point that maybe I target this high of day and break through it, but where's my stop? Maybe any close below the 5, maybe any close below this candle. So those are my two areas where I can try to manage this. And once I fire on this trade, if it does happen, I'm out of it. Like, there is nothing more that I can do, right? There's no more trying to control the price. Like, the job has been done, the work was done. Now put your feet up and just wait for the outcome. Makes sense? So over 445 is what I'm probably looking at here, because this high was 444 3/4. And again, I will market order in on this, but I want to see this green candle take it out. Like, I don't want to see it dance around. And again, I have no problem exiting the trade too, you know? Like, if I get in and it spikes up 5, 6, 7 points, you know, you might hear me scaled right out of it right then and there. I'm not looking for it to break the high. I'm not looking for it to touch this high. I just want to make money. That's all I care about. I don't care if I make 50 bucks or I make 500 bucks. I want to make money on the idea that I had. I think a lot of people get fixated on they have to make so many points on their trade. You know, if I don't make this many points on the trade, it's not going to be a profitable system. Well, I can tell you what's a profitable system: getting your ass out of the trade when you don't feel good or it's wrong, or making money. That's it. That's what's going to make you profitable. You can forget all the hocus pocus fucking price targets and risk to reward ratio and this, that, and the other. If you can't execute on making money or stopping out where you're supposed to, it doesn't matter what you have set forth for yourself. You still have to execute. Market's having a tough time here. You know, because can I say that, okay, over 445s, I want to get 460s, right? I can make a case for that I want this to touch 460, so that's my price target. That's 15 points. But I'll tell you this: if I make 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points on it, and I see it start to like trickle around, I'll get out of the trade. What the hell? I don't care. I don't care what someone thinks. You know, like, I have a feeling that, like, a lot of times we think that, oh, well, I'm not supposed to do it that way. I was supposed to wait for it here. You know what I care about? Money. That's what I care about. Did I make money on it? It goes back to what we talked about last week. I mean, just you got to just be satisfied with what you got, right? I would love to sit here and say that every setup that we get 15, 20 points. Guys, if you just sit back and you take this trade, you're always going to get 15 points. You're always going to get 25 points. You know, it's easy to sit there and look in hindsight and say, well, if I would have got into this trade and I would have held it, I would have made, 50 points on it. Yeah, it's easy to do that in hindsight. It's not so easy to do in real time. So just if you have an idea and you can make a little cash off of it, well, just go out there and do that 1,000 more times. Really having trouble reclaiming this daily 5 SMA here. I don't know if there's enough juice. 30-point ATR, I mean, it should be enough to get us through this range, but we need to pick up some more buyers here. At this point now, it hasn't gone. I'd rather just pull all the way back. Like, I'd rather this just pull all the way back to like 400s, hold, and then go through 445. The longer it stays dancing up here around the area where I'd like to get into a trade, the worse it is for me, because it's kind of like, yeah, it's consolidating, but like there's so much space down that if it wicks me in, it could still come down here, consolidate, and then go back up. I'd rather just do it now. Just come back down here. You don't want to go up when I want you to go up, then just come all the way down here now. That's kind of how I feel. I can make a case for a trend line break here. I don't know if this market's got the juice. Stalling out here. Got support around 400s. See if this 400 wants to hold here. Still got same idea here over 445s. we're kind of back testing these previous two swing highs here. You see that? Like how we popped here, 7:30 PST, 7:35, got rejected. We also tagged it again at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, as well as 8:10. And then we finally broke through. So this previous resistance is now been back tested. Still bullish, right? Still bullish until we get below. Previous resistance, new support here. This looks okay still for a continuation long, but we got to see a little bit of steam. We got to see some juice. If it fails this hold here, if it fails to hold here, then, you know, you got a lot of space down to 340s. This does start to get a little dicey for the longs if we start to give up these previous two 15-minute candle lows and we don't hold, right? We don't hold this area below 405, 400s. You know, you've got a lot of room to kind of just immediately fall back into the bottom of this bigger channel. So for the bulls, you definitely want to see the bulls hold 400s. If they lose 400s, that gets a little dicey. Yeah, that gets a little dicey. We could definitely fall back down to 370s. Because if I was to draw a fib, if I draw a fib from high of day to low of day, low day to high day, your 50% retracement is literally where our 15-minute 20 SMA is at. Your golden pocket is literally at 21,320s. That's down here towards VWAP. So, you know, if we fail to kind of push these highs, I would expect that that's where this market kind of trickles down to. There's a lot of support down there. There's not really nothing that's going to hold us up below 400s until we get to probably 60s or 50s, right? It could be a short opportunity here on, you know, like a failed continuation. And I like to see multiple areas acting as confluence. So like right now, I have support at a daily 10. I have support at this rising 20. I've got support at VWAP. And then it's also the 56 and 61.8% retracement on a Fibonacci. So there's like a lot of stuff sitting down here at 350s. And the only thing sitting to the high side here is literally this damn 5 SMA. So either it's going to continue to break this and we should see a nice run, or it kind of just does this whole song and dance where it trickles around and then eventually loses 400s and just kind of grinds itself back down into like 350s. So this is a two-sided trade opportunity here, depending on if you're leaning a little bit more sell biased. You know, some of us naturally look for those reversions, or if you're looking for longs. Like if you're looking for longs, again, it's that 445 that's got to get taken out, and you have a little bit here at 460, and if it gets through that, then you might see like a nice blow off. If it fails to get over that, then, you know, 350s is definitely going to be our downside. Watching this downside here as well, below 408. That previous 15-minute candle low might give me something for a quick scalp.